And welcome back to the Basil Breen Boombox. I'm here with multiple very special guests. Three of the members of Blazer Band are joining me. Jessie is somewhere on a boat, still alive out there in the Atlantic. We're hopefully going to be joined by her in a while. But this is most of Blazer Band, aka the Lost Children of David Byrne is what I came up with. But we can get into that a little bit later. But we've learned here on the podcast that we need to go back to the beginning, the birth of Blazer Band. We don't know how this is going to go. There's more people on the podcast than there's ever been. We're using a virtual studio, so this is a total experiment in human communication. But we know where we want to begin, and we want to go to the origin, and we know who we want to go for that story because we discussed it previous. So, Oscar, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of the origin story, and then, as I was saying before, if people, after he's given his terrific spiel, want to get in after, I'll leave a little bit of space or put up your hand. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. Oscar, take it away.
So we all basically met at college at Trinity. I was in a few bands before Blazer, just as a teenager, and didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I went into college with this kind of slightly more kind of open mind to find new people, you know. And one day went to like a course night out, you know, because we all did English. And there I met Jessie, and like we got on pretty well and had lots of similar music tastes. And I was really surprised to hear that she was a songwriter too. So we just started we just went out and jammed once, and I just went wow, this person is probably like the most talented songwriter I've met. Like, you know, she's incredible. Like, so anyway, we were chatting for a bit after that, and then sometime in January of this January, she texted me and was like, hey, I have a Fibbers gig, and you know, it's 40 minutes long and I can't do it by myself. Like, I need a band behind me. So do you want to be my guitarist? Do you want to be in the band? And I was like, yeah, sure. So anyway, like me, it was me and Aoife. It was just the three of us, just practicing maybe once or twice, and it was going pretty good. Then we got on Eleanor because we wanted some form of bass or keys or something like that. And we were practicing, and then we played that Fibbers gig, and that was it. Like, it was just it all kind of cemented there right before our eyes, you know. So
interesting, yeah, because you haven't been really going that long. So then so did you just meet was it in music college that you met?
No, it was actually the three of us. Oh, here she is.
Oh, Jessie's there.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, just about. You've just made your grand entrance, and you're live on the Basil Breen Boombox. We had to start without you, and Oscar is in the middle of answering some sort of question about whether or not it was in music college that you've met. So take it away, Oscar.
So we met actually. All of us bar Eleanor are doing some form of English. So we're all doing English in Trinity. Eleanor's doing renewable energy. So, but basically we all met kind of through that, and yeah, that's how we became a band.
Okay, so it was Jessie had the initial impetus to start the band. So Jessie, now that you're here, I think a good little segue would be, what was the initial impulse in order to start a band? You were doing all this songwriting and stuff on your own. When did you just wake up and say, God, I need a band? Was it just, I'm going to be doing this Fibbers gig, I can't do it on my own, or? Oh, God. All right. Okay.
I can add to this story. I can add to some of the story.
Aoife, take it away.
Okay. So me and Jessie are both part of Surf Sock in Trinity.
Yeah.
So there was a surf trip, and that's how we met. We didn't actually meet in English. But then on the surf trip, we were in Bundoran and Donegal.
I mean, I've always wanted to be in a band.
Oh, okay.
Since I was like 15. But no one to be in a band.
Interrupting rude.
Oh, God, Jessie, that's so bad. I don't know, Jessie. Like, if you can hear me on your little boat or wherever you are, just hold on a minute. until Aoife gets her spiel out of the way. So Aoife, yeah, please finish.
Well, yeah, she was talking a lot about the music scene in Bundoran, and Jessie invited us to an open mic, or the flow show. She was doing the flow show, and then me and the other people we met in Surf Talk, we went to her flow show gig, and I was talking, and then I was like, oh my goodness, Jessie, we have to start a band. And then
Cool.
she said she had the Fibbers gig, and that's, yeah.
Interesting. So what was the first, like, I'm guessing none of you really had any experience playing music with each other. Like, what was that first rehearsal like from your perspective, Aoife, I suppose?
I'd done a couple things with other groups before, so it was mostly fun. We were mostly
drummers are in high demand, like.
No, honestly, I wanted to start a band for ages, and I couldn't find people to start a band with. So, I was very happy when I found Jessie. But yeah, it was good fun. We just kind of like, I don't know. Oh, Jessie played us a bunch of her songs, and we decided which ones we liked, and we just kind of jammed things over them. I think that's pretty much it. Oscar, I don't know what you remember.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty true. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, when we were first playing as like a trio, and then eventually when we added Eleanor, we were just going through Jessie's songs and maybe one or two of mine, and just kind of just playing. You know what I mean? It wasn't even like, oh, we need to get, this needs to be here, and we were just playing. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have much time. We couldn't really arrange things too meticulously. We had to
it was just we need to just play.
Yeah, So it was very stripped and very like bare arrangement, but it worked. Because I think that's why people like us. We're true in that regard.
And I think it's just about getting started in the quickest, earliest way possible, instead of putting all these barriers of what we need right now. What we need right now is basically to take the first step into bandom or bandhood. Yeah. I don't know what the word is.
It's a good one,
and then bandom, yeah. Hopefully it doesn't mean something derogatory or whatever. But yeah, no, that's really that's the key to everything. I think is just like starting, taking the first steps, and and then with Eleanor, then how did you come about onto this band? You've been sitting up there, top right hand corner of my screen, and so what's your origin story with the band?
So I had met Jess on a night out in the fall. We'd both been in the sailing society together, and that's how we kind of knew each other. And we got each other's Instagrams, but we really didn't talk or hang out at all after that. And then in January, I saw that she had posted on her Instagram story, hey, I'm playing a gig soon. I need a bassist and a keyboard player. And I responded and I said, I play the piano, but I don't have a piano. Is that a problem? Usually that's a pretty big problem when someone asks for a piano player. But actually Jess responded and she was like, oh, no, that's fine. I actually have a keyboard. I just can't play it. So that's perfect.
Brilliant.
And then I was like, oh, when's the show? And she said the 19th. And I started to walk it back a little because I was traveling like that whole week before. I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. I could only come once or twice. And she was like, no, we really need someone to play the keyboard. That would be fine. If you can just come to 2 or 3 things and we'll send you voice recordings and everything will work out.
Brilliant. I love that.
I was like, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Just do it. Mm-hmm. Don't overthink it. And just in terms of your role, because I think it's really interesting, when you're playing the keys, like, are you facilitating sort of the bass with the keys, or are you just playing sort of like, where are you just playing everywhere, and or are you trying to fill the bass gap?
It depends on the song, and a bit of a concert preview spoiler for our next show is that we have actually acquired a bass, which I will be playing.
Oh, shit!
The bass parts that were on the piano will now be on an actual bass.
No way.
But before I was covering bass parts on some songs, and then in other songs, we really were messing around with all the different sound options on the keyboard. There are a couple songs where I play an organ type thing or a xylophone. Yes. It's all just whatever we think will go well with the song.
Interesting. Are them sounds inbuilt into the keyboard, or do you have a laptop? Or
no, they're built into the keyboard.
Oh, cool. Okay. Interesting. So then I want to see Jessie and her connection, how strong it is Jesse, how is it out there on the seas?
It's fabulous. I don't know if you
Ah,
can hear me.
I can
Can
hear
you
you
hear
a bit
me?
now.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, great. I'm trying to find somewhere that has a bit more connection. So I'm just kind of wondering. But yeah,
Okay.
we'll find it. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes. So Jesse, I don't know if you want to spiel or add anything to what's already been said. I don't really have a good segue
Yeah,
question.
I think I think what helped with the whole starting the band was that we were under time pressure and we just needed to get it done. So like as in we just needed to form a band. So yeah, I think that really helped because we didn't have time to procrastinate. Um, yeah, so yeah, I'm really excited to have a proper bass now. I always wanted to learn keyboard, so that's why I had the keyboard. I bought
Yes.
myself a keyboard and I was like, I'm going to learn this. And then didn't realize how hard it is. So that's a work in progress.
Yes.
But yeah, no. So just so delighted that it just happened to fall in with all these people who are all fabulous.
Yes, this is brilliant. But yeah, I'm actually learning the piano as well. I just feel the guitar kind of obscure. Like I'm only, you know what I mean. I'm not the most versatile guitar player, but I just the strings and the notes. It's always a blocker. Like it pushes me away from the music theory side of things because when I look at it, it's just hard for me to sort of visualize. But with the piano, I just love it because I'm a nerd. Let's say when it comes to, I just love the connections of chords between chords and notes and the symmetries of music and like it's like it's like fucking taking drugs or something sometimes. You're just like you have Circle of Fifth open on your laptop and you have your keyboard. And you're like, oh, but this is the same relationship as that relationship, and it's just so it's a lot more like you realize how deep the rabbit hole goes with a keyboard, but it just and everything just takes it takes way more time than what you might think, and you just have to be willing to you know with everything you need to be willing. Am I willing to put the next few years into this? Like there's no quick fix, there's no overnight this. It's like, and then with music and musicianship and anything that where you have to acquire skill, there's no amount of money, there's nothing out there. No one can give you it. Like you are the only one that can do it. So even if you were the richest person in the world, like you couldn't, like the only way to learn an instrument is to learn the instrument. You know what I mean? That's what I love about it. Like no one could give you that. And it's such a beautiful thing to pursue, just like personal development in a way. But I'd also then want to just get back to the name of the band. Now, I think this might have something to do with David Byrne, but I'm not sure. Cause I seen a few stories and so David Byrne, he had a book called How Music Works and I bought it many years ago and I didn't know he actually was the main singer for the Talking Heads. This was like, I was so naive and this was many years ago. But it was such a powerful book in helping me sort of just, zoom out from music and look at it from sort of a different lens of what its actual sort of facility or purpose. And then there's loads of other books that have kind of helped out. But that when I've seen then the clips of him in the big suit, and it was from that great documentary, Stop Making Sense, like the first kind of concert, great documentary apparently. But it was I watched it fully after I seen your stories because I was like, oh my god, hell, I actually haven't seen it. So I'm just wondering. If I don't know who wants to jump in, but where did the name come from?
Will I jump in here, guys, or
yeah, go ahead.
If you guys can hear me. But
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I was always obsessed with David Byrne and Talking Heads, and when I was in school, no, I didn't do the whole oversized blazer thing. I wasn't quite that nerdy, but I did have to wear a blazer for 6th year and 5th year. My dad taught in the school and he always wanted me to look smart. So I don't know, a blazer just became part of how I kind of presented myself at that stage. I don't really wear it that much anymore, but then, David Byrne was a huge influence and that book, How Music Works, was a huge influence. And then we always watched that documentary when we were kids because my dad is Talking Heads.
Oh wow!
Huge fan. So we always watched it as kids. It was kind of my first introduction to music was probably through that documentary, and loved it. I love how he just doesn't give I don't know if I can swear. Can I swear?
You swear the fuck all you want.
Okay. I love how he just doesn't give a fuck. Like,
Yes.
I think it's really inspirational.
Do you know what? Actually, like, there's always so much to gain. So because I followed my curiosity, I was like, I want to watch this documentary now. When I was watching him, and he's starting off with just him, the boombox and the guitar, and I was looking at him, right, and I'm kind of trying to incorporate this now into my own performance, which hopefully I'll be able to do at the gig, but just more moving, more like I don't have to be stationary with the guitar. I can get like into it, you know what I mean? And seeing him he's like obviously a virtuoso, you know what I mean? But it made me realize that I don't have to be stationary. But in that book, how music works, he talks about how he kind of developed his dancing style, where it was all he just started doing movements. He wasn't too concerned with like, you know, the actual choreography of it. He just started doing it in a way. And describes this really good, interesting, this cool thing, right? So it's like an algorithm that found the best dance moves in like a dance group. So basically there was a group of people dancing, and then the rule was if you notice somebody else doing a better dance than you follow, you do their dance, right? And so in about 10 minutes, everyone was doing the same dance move, which I thought was so cool. Like it's a computer algorithm, like that's actually, in the real world. But no, I love that. I actually wrote a song. I think that's my most, David Byrne. I don't know what it is about it. It won't be until like next year's album, but I'm really happy with it. But I think, but yeah, the Blazer, that whole performative, piece of the documentary, it was kind of obviously, like I only looked into this because I wasn't around then, but it was definitely, revolutionary, for the time. I don't know if anyone else, it's hard for me I don't know how to segue to 4 people, you know what I mean? I'm not good at this, but who wants to jump in?
Yeah, about that book, actually, I was gifted that, How This Music Works, by David Byrne. I also read it. I was gifted it when I was like maybe 15 or something, and I remember reading it, and just the kind of insight you gain into how to be a musician is just incredible. Like,
Yes.
even like some of the chapters about like finances and shit. Like, I always remember thinking to myself, I'm skipping this one. Like, fuck that. You know what I mean? I don't give a shit about that.
Yes.
But like, as soon as I started reading it, I was like, oh my God, this is actually applicable to how, you know, if I want to have a career in music, like this is so useful. You know, everything in that book, like, is just, and it kind of teaches you just how to, like, you know, when he talks to you about like sound in different venues and how that affects, you know, like the entire concert. Like, you don't think about those kind of things.
Yes.
I don't think about the difference between the International's fucking acoustic vibrations versus Whelan's, you know what I mean? Like, that's not something that comes into my mind naturally. You have to think about these things, and you have to play so many gigs that becomes, you know, an issue or something that's topical for you.
Yes, you have to kind of, once you earn like that lived experience, like, so now if I probably went back to that book, so I got the audio book actually, recently enough, and I listened through it. But it's like with any sort of reading materials or books or anything really, any information, whatever stage you're at, or like the current version of you, there's always new insights to be gained. Like, you might think, oh, I read that book, but if you read that book again now, it'd be like, oh, now I see, because I've been through this lived experience of playing in all these different gigs. But the big thing I think with venues for me is just being able to hear yourself sing. For like, when I'm singing, if I can't hear myself, and then I don't feel as, well, it's not that I don't, when I see footage of myself, I'm like, it's not as good. It's not as good as when I know what it's like when I can hear myself.
Absolutely.
You're just not, if you can hear yourself, you can use your voice, more as an actual instrument. Like, it's like this real entity in the world that you're kind of pulling and maneuvering and adjusting, probably based on the soundscape of the room. But, so just on the actual gigs that you have been doing, what is it? So that video you have, on the Dart, I just think is so fucking brilliant. And I just want to say as well, your social media stuff, I just really love it. I love seeing, you just pushing that stuff out and trying stuff. And and experimenting with the form. And it's just it's real funny. And, it's real, you'd be so surprised at like, when you're pursuing something, if you're putting stuff out there into the world, there's like a trickle down effect of inspiration. Like, for example, I watched that documentary because I seen it on your story. We've no idea the impact that we're having. So it's always good to just be pushing. But just on I suppose, Aoife, you have to bring that, drum kit around with you. Like,
Yeah.
how does that affect things when you're moving about?
That is that's the most challenging part. And we've had pretty much only one. Oh no, Fibbers has a drum kit, and then the Soundhouse had a drum kit. But everywhere else we've had to carry that drum kit. I mean, the worst one was, where did we play? Oh, Moss Lane, the open mic there.
Yeah.
Instead of just using a cajon or something like we should have, we proceeded to carry my entire drum kit on the dart. It was not, like bass drum included. It was carrying that was something else. Yeah. Because none of us can drive, so we have to take it on the dart. Sometimes we've got, Whelan's luckily
that legendary moment.
It did, actually. That was a different one. That was for Fibbers when I didn't have my bass drum then. That was, the reel was just the hi-hat or whatever. But luckily, or for Whelan's and some gigs, my parents have driven my drum kit. Which was nice of them, but yeah.
That's brilliant.
The dart is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's just cool. You know what I mean? It just makes us look. That's what I liked about when I seen your social media stuff after I seen you at the circle sessions, which I was very impressed. When Luke, like from Raise the Bar, he was reaching out to me, and we were talking. I was just you and the Creatures of Habit. Like, for my personal taste, we're just like, if I'm going to do a gig, these would be the people that I'd love to do it with. Like, and I don't, like, that was just my intuition in a way. But I could see that intuition sort of, making more sense as time goes on. Just seeing the band's personality, let's say, on social media is kind of, that, it has a kind of quirky style that I can kind of resonate with. But then the Creatures of Habit, they're just my cup of tea anyway. But on that, the circle sessions, that I just remember you guys, and then that was the first time I seen Lucra music as well performing at that night, and it was the first time I'd felt like, because we all have our own cup of tea, you know what I mean? Someone might see somebody else and feel something, and they might feel nothing, but like that night of music, it was like one of the great nights of the circle sessions for me personally. And you have done so many sort of gigs in your short time. I was just wondering, how have you gone about getting so many gigs?
There's only one
Well,
person
Jesse
that can
had a
answer that
bunch.
question.
Okay. Is it Jesse's? Jesse's got to jump in now.
Okay. I mean, I was always taught when growing up that if you ask for things, the worst thing they can say no. So we've just been texting and DMing and emailing loads of different places, and some of them get back to you and some of them don't. And, the ones that get back to you, you're obviously ready to play for them. Like, even if, we emailed Whelan's and we didn't expect to get a response. And then we asked for, I think initially we asked for the main venue, which was a bit wild. And then we looked at the number of audience that you need, and it was like 450 or something. And we were like, there's no way. So we emailed them back being like, hey, maybe the upstairs venue would be better for us. And they then emailed us back being like, no, or we've got the main venue free or something, and you don't need to bring 450 people. We'll do you a deal, which was so nice of them, because they didn't even know us. Like, they kind of took a risk, but it was such a good night. It was such a good night, and I do think that, if places don't get back to you, it's just because you're not ready for them to get back to you, and you'll be ready for it.
Yes, and it's just about, I got, the basic gist was, don't be afraid to take a risk and reach out to people. And if you don't ask, you won't get. And that's something, I think my personality type or the way I was brought up, I knew that instinctually, like basically the logical side of if you don't ask, you won't get. But, I always, cause I think, I don't know what it is, but I'm always afraid to put people out. Like even when I started doing this, like when I'm thinking about gigs, I have to flip my mind. I'm not putting people out by putting on a gig. I'm not like, you know, like I'm actually putting on something that hopefully everyone's going to want to be at. You know what I mean? It's not like they're coming, like I'm forcing them to come or something. You know what I mean? So it's all about flipping that in my head. Cause I think, I don't want to annoy people fundamentally. So, but you need to overcome that. And then the more you start sort of believing in yourself, and then cause there's people out there, let's say in jobs, right? That basically they might earn more money than the next person. They might be the same skill level, but the only difference is that the other one is, someone could be more, confrontational, or they're less agreeable than the other person. So then when it comes to salary negotiation, they just say, oh yeah, I want more money as well. And like, if you don't say that, then you just kind of go to the next, whatever, the next like meeting and the next week. And so if you don't speak up and then what is the worst that can happen? There's just that feeling for me anyway. I'm like, please, like what I'm going to say now or whatever it is, but I need to get over that. For myself personally, but I love that, obviously Jesse now is still hopefully alive somewhere on the planet. But I love that just like, if you don't ask, you won't get. And what is the worst that can happen? And you have just kind of, been throwing yourself, all across Dublin, it seems. So
yeah.
I suppose.
And I mean, the more you do, the more confident you are as well.
Yes. And you're touching on something that's very powerful here is, the networking, like I had a boss before, years ago, and he just said, like, basically never burn any bridges because always be as nice and as good to people as you possibly can, because life is long and as we accumulate relationships and our networks, grow over time, the compound interest actually comes from the more time we spend building it and building them relationships. Like, so when you get to a certain stage then and you've earned that capital in a way. So you always have to just be like the golden rule. You know what I mean? Just be good to people. And people don't realize as well. And this is the big lesson. The more success that the people around us have, the more success that we'll have, because the ecosystem, it's like the rising tides raise all boats. The more interest, the more people that want to see live music. That's like, there's like a meta sort of, interest or level for everybody that's involved in that particular, domain. Like if you look, for example, Apple Vision just brought out, well, they just announced their own virtual VR headset. But now that they've done that, they've basically vindicated that whole market, or they validated it, let's say. And now it makes other people that had been sort of like, oh, it's never going to work, it's never going to take off. Now now people are probably rushing like, oh, we need to now make VR headsets, or Facebook Meta. They've just been validated now. So, but everyone wins, but everyone in that space wins. Like, it's not that the more we can promote, and you are really good for this, which I really like. It's just about and then genuinely sharing what you genuinely like. Like, it's not hard to find something that you genuinely appreciate about something. If you just look, it's so easy. And then you can actually, it doesn't have to be manufactured. And I think that's you shouldn't manufacture oh yeah, yous are so great. It's like, oh, I genuinely like this about you. And that's why I'm pushing it, because the more you genuinely, sort of amplify, stuff that you see, the more you see that in the world. And then it just keeps growing, you know what I mean? Jeez, I've had this coffee fucking hitting me hard.
No, I like that though. I like that idea.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys can hear me because I had to log off there. Sorry, lads.
Jesse's back and she wants to get
brilliant.
talking.
Yeah, no, just completely seconding that, Basil. Commenting on people's posts, because quite often, like, people will scroll past something, even if they don't really know the person, and you might listen to the song and think, oh my god, that's really good, but you'll never like put that down. And I know myself, like, having that kind of that support from other artists is.
Yes, I think in summary, Jesse's laggy communication there, basically just, yeah, reaching out to people in comments through social media. It might seem like, yeah, commenting actually is something that it's like yeah, it's not done enough probably. And a comment means so much, like, just because we're all putting this stuff out there into the world and we're trying fucking so hard, and it's like, it could be, you can have your some days, like we have I mean, I have my doubts sometimes, especially when I push it so hard, and then I have let's say I have a bad gig or like a bad moment or something just comes up, and I'm just lying there and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I pursuing this? Like, I'm putting so much money into fucking like ads and mics and producing the songs and I'm just dedicating so much. I'm like, why don't I just fucking, like, cause I can earn I'm like a programmer, so I could just get like, I could just work and be grand, you know what I mean? And then I'm just like, I could just fuck all this. But then you come back to it, you know what I mean? Then you're like, all right, you have to pick yourself up. And then, so we don't know how many people are going through that on a day-to-day basis. And the more you can just reach out with a kind word, a kind gesture, because I just appreciate anybody who's trying to make something of this life, make something that isn't there, like create something new, elevate themselves to new places, where they're not currently at. I just think there's something, very sort of noble, about that pursuit in a way. So I think, so yeah, basically then, I think I have a good kumbaya, pass around question kind of thing. So, just because it's hard, it's much harder for me to segue from my rants, when there's four people, right? But, so just a few, so I want to kind of go around, right, to the circle, right? So Oscar's to my immediate right on my screen. So I'm going to start with him. So, just like, I suppose, three kind of questions that you can kind of veer off on. It's like, so what is your role in the band? What do you find most, rewarding about playing in a band? And then sort of what do you find most challenging about playing in a band?
Right, so my role, I mean, I consider myself a lead guitarist, but I also I sing the songs that I wrote and that I play. So it's kind of like a Beatles sort of co-frontman sort of dynamic as well between me and Jesse. And what was the second question? Sorry,
so yeah, and then like, who's the biggest cunt in the band? No, yes. What is
Me.
So what do you?
That's me. Yeah, that's what I did.
Shout out to Aoife. But no. So what is, I suppose, most rewarding, and then what is most challenging about playing in a band?
Rewarding, just the fact that you can do it. You know, it's like a miracle that humans can play music together, because the kind of shit that they make is just unreal. I mean, think about the symphony, you know, when whatever gobshite invented the symphony, like, how incredible that must have been, like, you know what I mean? Hearing all those instruments, 30 odd instruments, all different timbres and sounds and tones, just like coming together, making this amazing sound, like.
Yes.
So it's the same thing with the fucking rock band, like, it's the same thing, you know? You have these four lads or ladies playing guitar, drums, and bass. I mean, that wasn't really the band. The sort of small person, like, you know, as in less than 10 people band wasn't really a thing before like 1900. It only really came about when jazz came about, which was, you know, probably around the early 1900s.
Yes.
But once they figured it out, once they knew how to set up a drum kit in the right way so that it's as versatile as it can be, and once they had, you know, like guitar arrangements set up and stuff like that, that was the start of the rock band, you know?
Yes. And just before I go to that last question, just on the point of an orchestra, because there is something very provoking or inspiring from when you see that many humans sort of in sort of sync. But it's really interesting actually, because people might look at the conductor and they just think, oh, this is just some person waving their hand. But they serve such a functional purpose.
Yeah.
Like, so people on the opposite sides of, let's say, the room in an orchestra, they actually, the sound like travels slower than speed, obviously. But if they are listening to the sound and trying to just do it by sound, they end up out of sync because there's a lag. I don't know if you've ever tried to record yourself, but sometimes if your computer has a bit of a lag, it really messes you up because it's hard to play in sync when there's a lag. So the conductor, because of they're instead of using your ears, you're reacting to sort of to the speed of light. So then also it's the tempo, it's everything. So by having that sort of single point of focus, it allows for like many more humans than would have been able to sort of play together. But then what then for you is the most what's most challenging about playing in a band?
I think generally just sort of getting the songs in the right shape, because it's such a complex thing playing with other people, where you have arrangements that you need to sort out, and you have, just generally different tastes and personalities, and it just, that complicate things, as opposed to if you're just playing solo, this is just you and a guitar. There's not really much to it. But like the smallest change in arrangement for a band, like, there's an extra guitar lick here, or if it does something cool on the drums, like a little fill, it completely changes the whole meaning. It's like film or something. You know what I mean? You change the camera slightly, you change the angle slightly, and suddenly the picture says something completely different to what it already did. That's probably been the most challenging thing, I think. Just figuring that out, getting it right.
Yes, and then as the more, because the changes are like obviously they're incremental, but it's like when there's a new change, then it has to sort of bubble up through the whole band. We all as a band have to learn this new change in a way. Which it just sounds like a beautiful sort of experience to take part in. But now to my next person to the right of Oscar is Aoife. So yes, to you then, you have the virtual kumbaya stick now. So what's your role in the band? And then obviously forget any of these questions, you can just ask me. But and then what's good and what's challenging about being in a band? This is proper like interview question stuff now.
I guess, well, my role is the drummer.
Whoa!
I'm also very good at distracting everybody. That's another role.
Okay.
Slowing down practices. Yeah. What's good about it though? I mean, we've met so many new people through the band. Like, I mean, I wouldn't know any of these three. And even everybody, I mean, we made so many new friends through it as well. And I mean, like, playing drums on stage is possibly my favorite thing in the entire world. It's just like such a good feeling. Like sitting there and enjoying the music. It's honestly like one of my favorite things ever. And that's what I get out of the band. Like gig days are so exciting. Like I'm more excited about gig days than I was about like Christmas when I was like 8, honestly. Jessie can attest to this when I've like run to her house from my house, which is like a 20-minute run, and I never run anywhere. And I run to her house to get ready with her, and I'm like so excited. I'm like, Jessie, we're doing a gig. Yeah, that's what I get out of it. I love it so much.
And then just on the drum and stuff, because basically I don't know if you watched the Get Back documentary, the Beatles, so good. But what I noticed straight away is like Ringo, like as everyone's jamming, everyone's trying to come up with music, everyone's just doing covers or whatever. Like Ringo's just always just sitting there ready. Like without Ringo, like Ringo's just so chill and just so such an integral part of everything. But again, it's just a drummer just sitting there without the beat. Without the beat, like if you're going to add one extra element to a piece of music that's like, let's say I'm singing, I'm playing guitar, the thing that's going to make the biggest impact then is the drums. The drums are such an integral part. But so how do you find that? Because you are basically the heartbeat of the band in a kind of way. Like, do you feel like you have to, like, what is it like when you're are you kind of like a conductor of tempo and speed and
tempo and speed, yeah, I guess that's about it. But aside from that, I mean,
that's the whole thing. Like,
well, no, like the other three are always like discussing music things and like what key and where the capo is, and I don't know what any of that is. I have never done music, so I just kind of sit there and everyone's discussing music, and then they're like, "You can play now," and I'm like, "Okay," and I just play. And that's kind of it.
And now, come here.
Yeah. I don't know.
You find it? Has there been So has there been anything challenging in a way, like so? So one thing for me, just playing solo, I alluded to earlier, was is like, so when I play the songs, sometimes I play them. Like when I record the songs, I record them at a like I set the tempo in a way that I can sing the words and articulate the words, and I feel good about singing the words. But then when I go to sing them live, I notice now because I'm trying to play and sing with a metronome, because I want to eventually start moving towards getting a band. But then I need to learn how to play like when there's a little beat, when there's a click, you know what I mean, and sing at the same time. So
I mean, it's so much harder to do that with a metronome than a drum kit. I think it's easier with a drum kit.
Oh, interesting.
I think so. Yeah.
The drum kit is more, well, there's a human behind the drum, so they can ebb and flow.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's I want to go back. I want to play like the drummer simulator. So we're all about to kick in, right? And like 1, 2, 3, and then you're going. Are you like, what's your mind? Is your mind like, what is it most preoccupied by when you're drumming? Are you always sort of trying to tap into the current like musical spirit, or what is the current speed? Like what is it? You just tell me. It's just like belag. Do 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 do.
I don't know. Just, I don't know, making a good sound. Have some cool fills in there.
Yes.
Got to coordinate with Eleanor on the bass. So gotta listen out for that. Yeah.
So it's like a very sort of involved. That's what I'm saying. Like, so you're just like blah 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 blah, but like you have to be very engaged.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it's kind of hard it's easy to like zone out and just kind of play, because I guess it's not changing all the time. The beat is kind of solid. And then sometimes I forget where we are in the song, or I don't realize we're about to go into like the verse or something, and I just...
The bit, yeah.
So
your drum solo's coming up, like.
Yeah, so I have to like pay attention.
Hilarious. Okay, cool. So then I suppose that is probably, I think you've covered. Is there anything more you'd like to say? Or forever hold your peace? No, that's... I'm sorry. I put like it's almost like speak now. No, I think we covered. I think we covered all the stuff.
Yeah, I just love it. I also love it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the. Yeah, you just seem like, I don't know. I think that it's you then that has them nipple crosses. I'm thinking about wearing them on my next gig. Actually,
you so should. Get them out. Yeah.
I love that as well. Playing with the form, because a big part when I started coming out as a musician, in a way, I started to understand like this robe that I wear in my videos. It's like the performative, the sort of the spirit of what I'm trying to put out into the world. Like your appearance, your entity can come into alignment with that. If you and then it adds more to it. I used to just wear lots of greys and blacks and no color. I was afraid.
We were the same. We've kind of only just started thinking about our appearance and stuff now, or thinking about, I guess, coordinating it. Obviously, we're not all looking the exact same, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We kind of all just wore a mishmash of clothes before. I don't know. It's a new thing for us as well. Yeah.
If you look at, I mean, like even that stopped making sense. I think David Byrne wanted everyone to wear kind of these, basically these kind of like unassuming colours. I think one band member, I remember reading the Wikipedia, I was going deep on it, but he always thought about that kind of stuff, like what does everything look like and what stands out against certain things. But a uniform, it taps into, or like not even a uniform, but let's say a preconceived collective image. Let's just say that's what it is. That taps into the sort of the ritualistic and traditional side of our, like when we see people in uniform doing like in lockstep, we just feel like that sort of instills the traditional spiritual side of us in a way. Like there's something to so we can bring that forth on stage with because if everyone's wearing the same thing or not the same thing, but they're coordinated in some fashion, I think that elevates everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it makes you seem more serious as a band, or
Yes, no, but it's even I think it goes even deeper than that. It's like because it's more like it's a more of a spectacle. Let's say, like if you've seen a million people, if you looked out your window and there's a million people all wearing an orange jumper, you'd just be like, "Holy shit, that looks so cool!" And I'm not going to be able to figure out exactly why right now on this podcast. Maybe with some more coffee. But anyway, so I appreciate them spiels. And now to my bottom left hand side of the virtual campfire, we have Eleanor Rigby. I'm sorry, I had to say that at least once. But so I suppose if you want to give a little spiel on what is your role, what's good and what's bad, and we'll just take it from there.
Sure. I play keys and bass in Blazer. My, I guess, more offstage role is to be very chill all the time.
She is.
Yeah, because that's such a. I know. Sorry, I ran so much, but if let's say the house is burning down or someone's just died in your family or something, if everybody's crying, then you need someone who's like trying to be solid and chill, because if everybody's gone to Titanic going crazy, everyone's fucked. But if you need someone who's chill, and that someone is Eleanor Rigby. No, I'm sorry.
I'm like the emotional metronome of the band.
Sorry, I'm so excited. Emotional metronome. Oh fuck. That is our word of the day. Our words of the day. But please continue.
You just wrote that.
Yeah. When it hits, it
You're
hits.
stealing your ideas, Eleanor. You're stealing your
Emotional metronome. You'll definitely hear me if you listen to any more episodes. I'm going to use that in many more ways. But please, continue.
I think for me, the greatest challenge and the most rewarding part of the band are the same thing. My background musically is in classical piano. I did not have any band or musical experience where my instrument wasn't the only instrument. And so I've had to, since joining the band, completely change the way I think about making music and the type of music that I'm exposed to. I didn't listen to a lot of bands before I joined Blazer, and now everything I listen to, I'm like, oh, what if we did this? How could we do this? What's something we could do that's like this?
Yes.
And that's been a very big challenge in a lot of ways, but it's also, as I think everyone else has said, getting to make this music together and open up new ways of making music and new styles of making music that I had really no experience with at all.
Yes.
You were asking earlier about the origin story to the band, and we did all form for the Fibbers gig on the 19th, but I was thinking about it this morning while having some pre-podcast breakfast.
Yes.
And I think for me, the moment that we became a band was not Fibbers' gig, and wasn't until I think a month or so after that, because we were, I think in that time before, we were 4 people who had booked a bunch of gigs and now had to play a bunch of gigs, and we would meet up twice a week, and we were like, okay, run through all these songs. If we can get through them, we're good. Let's go. But we had a practice where there's a song that Oscar wrote called Just Want to Tell You. It's one of my favorites. And we had a practice where we were like, well, what if there's a guitar solo in this song? And that was the first time that we had made any significant changes to any of the songs that we were playing. Before then, we'd just been trying to learn them and get them done and learn them and get them done. But adding this guitar solo was the first moment, I think, of group creation. Wow. And we added the guitar solo. and it slaps. It's so good. It made the song amazing. We all finished that run of the song and we were like, okay, we have to do this every time now. The solo's staying in. The solo's getting longer. We're doing things with the solo.
It's just a solo.
The solo
now.
gets longer every gig. The solo never stops.
That is so cool.
I never would have thought of it that way. Wow. The first time we became a band.
Yes.
I think Eleanor's right because we've become like more of a band. Yeah. As you said, we're not 4 people anymore. We are a band.
Now,
when does the band become a band? It's like if you keep losing, if I lose one hair, am I bald? If I lose another hair, am I bald? When do I become bald? And it's like, when does a coil of sand become a grain of sand? These kind of, they're impossible questions to really answer. You just know it when it happens. You know what I mean? And then for you, that was that moment. And that's
now
really,
all we have to
that's
do
beautiful.
is write a song together.
So
4 of us just sit in a room and be like,
yes,
that's the next
that's
part.
the next thing.
We've done that.
Have we?
Sort of. Do you feel deprived? Was sort of like that.
But I mean, like, start with nothing. Like, go straight in and have a song finished.
We started with nothing.
I guess.
Not according to Oscar, right? It needs to be a good song, right? You know? No, yes. I write a lot, and I write a lot of some of it I feel really good about, and then the next day I'm like, or the next week I'm like, fuck, I put so much time to that, and I'm just not feeling it. So it's just a part of it. But sorry, Eleanor. So that's a beautiful way of saying it. Like when the band became the band. So yeah, I suppose more spiels maybe about the challenges and the playing in the band, or what's good. I suppose I don't know how to formulate. You know, you just need to spiel a bit about the band.
Yeah. So the thing that I like about the band is how comfortable we've all become bringing rough drafts into each other, and that now someone can come in with part of a verse where there's a lot more freedom to mess around and try things, rather than in the early days of band where everything had to be just so, or in music for me prior to this where there was always sheet music and you had to play to the sheet music exactly. And I brought sheet music to a couple of our first practices and gigs.
That's so
and that was not the
that's not the band.
No.
That's so funny.
But it's
I like the video of us playing Running Up That Hill and you just like turn the sheet over in fingers. That's fun.
She just has the sheet. Stop.
She does. The video like pans over to Eleanor. You just see her like flip the sheet music over.
And it's just like so professional.
It's on my dresser right now, but I had this little sheet of paper where I wrote in the smallest handwritten I could all the names of all our songs and then all the chords for all our songs with like a little box and like capo 2 and 4/4 and like stars next to the things. And I would just take it out of my pocket and like put it on the side of the piano. And I'd just be looking over.
Yeah. But you need a comfort. It's like a comfort blanket in a way. There's all these stuff that can make us feel more comfortable in different situations. Like there's this, I love this story of this. He's a freestyle rapper from the UK. I don't really remember his name, but he's so funny. But he's really good at doing freestyle improv. But he brought his a rug, like a carpet from his like childhood home to every gig, basically before he. So he'd feel more comfortable when he'd perform on that rug, and so like that was like a very connected place for him to sort of to feel comfortable, like he was at home in a way. And then just having that bit of paper, having that set list, but just on because you're triggering so many spiels for myself here, but just have the rough draft is very interesting because everything is a rough draft, and you need to just. The way like Rick Rubin's new book is really good in formulating sort of how I think about creation now. Whereas you're a band, it's not about like who created what. It's like, are we going to create the best thing that we possibly can in a way? And it's not like it's anybody's. It's like we're just 4 humans working on trying to make the best thing that we possibly can. And then once you're kind of following that intuition, then it's not like then you can kind of bring forth anything because you're trying to bring the thing forward, and it's not like this is a reflection on me how stupid this idea is, whatever. It's just you're just putting it out there into the ether, and if it makes the thing better, it does, and if it doesn't, then it's like nah. But we're always just trying to move in that direction, I suppose.
One of the things that I notice a lot in practice is everyone in the band individually is so much more critical of their own work than everyone else in the band is. We have a lot of band discussions where Jessie might come with a song and she'll say, I don't think this is very good, or she'll say, I want to take this one off the set list. And the three of us will rally and be like, no, we have to have that on the set list. Here's why.
That's so funny.
Or I'll have something that I'm working on the keyboard, and there's a effect that we have in one of our songs, and I didn't really think it was working. I wanted to change the sound, and Aoife was like, no, you cannot change the sound. You must have that.
The sound is iconic.
Yeah.
It makes the song for me. And so Jess was talking earlier about commenting on posts and giving that validation as a musician to other musicians. And we're all able to provide that validation for each other in practices, which I think has made songs or moments in songs that if it was just us as an individual, we wouldn't bring those or we wouldn't share those and they'd never happen. But in the band, when you have three people who are around, or sometimes one very opinionated person, then you can end up hanging on to something that you maybe didn't think was worth it so much, and it becomes a fully fledged part of the song and part of the performance.
Yes. And just on who's the most opinionated, I love this because sometimes it's not about like it's the way I think about it when you're working with other people. It's who cares about the thing the most. So because if you don't care about it really that much, you're like, oh, it's a good idea, it's bad. You kind of go along with it. But usually, if there's a debate, the person who cares about it the most, like it's so obvious that they care way more than anybody else about this thing. So it's like, all right, and it's good to push back and stuff, but because it's hard, I suppose, with four people, there's a good chance that democracy wins out in a way. But I've had business partnerships where it's just been two people, and it's very hard to get a resolution, let's say, without feeling sort of discontent. But the way I try to think about it, it's like, well, especially when you both really care about the thing. But it's about, how do you, I suppose with collaboration then, like how is that, what have been the has that been just something that you've gotten better at over time, I suppose is what you're alluding to?
Yeah, well, collaboration is a weird thing, and it's always something that I've dealt with in bands, obviously, because that's the whole basis of them. But I guess, I don't know. I mean, let me think about this. I suppose sometimes, most of the time it's been pretty smooth in the band, I think. We've never had big disputes about, oh, this fucking guitar thing should be in here. No, that should be the drum beat. Usually, like, if someone says something and we try it out, we all kind of go like, or we go, it's very unanimous, very like neutral, like it is clear most of the time. Yeah,
it's clear.
Yeah. The only disputes we'd ever have is about recording. Actually, that's the only disputes we've ever really had about, which is like how we go about recording. I'm very much like naturalistic about it. I want to do what bands in the 60s did, where they record just a live room and that's it, and it's the best, it's the best sound you'll get because it's like, human beings in a room where you could feel the atmosphere and you can feel the textures of the instruments, as opposed to just like layering it one by one and playing to a metronome and auto-tuning and quantizing and all that kind of bullshit, basically, in my opinion. But so, but that's the only kind of disputes or collaborative sort of arguments we ever get into, really. It's just when we're recording, I think.
So the only thing, so we all have sort of bias, like you obviously have a strong bias towards, it's kind of common one that I always kind of, the creators, the artists, the purity of the art, but it's like, you're still choosing to draw the line somewhere. You're like, why don't you just say, why record in anything? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not the most natural in a way. So But sometimes, especially these days now, I think like compromise is something that you probably will have to to figure out. But just on the recording thing, the only thing is that just whatever your ideas about it are, please don't let it get in your way of getting your music out there into the world. Like, because time is limited. Like, and I mean this like I can't, like, because time and our life is finite, it's therefore like the most valuable thing in the world, and we're never going to get this chance again. So you have to, if you have something in your heart and you can create it, just try not to get in your own way about it. You know what I mean? Like, as much as you can. Now, obviously, you don't want to be putting stuff out into the world that you hate, but eventually you will. I have stuff out there now that I don't like, and I'm like, well, at the time I thought it was good or whatever, and you learn and you grow. But I just feel like I know one guy, right? David Healy, if he's fucking out there. I was talking to him last October. I heard him and I was like, "Oh, you're recording?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I started recording." And like every week, I've seen him like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, "You're recording," and he's still getting in. He has to change the strings of the fucking guitar every time he does a new take. Or he's insane. It's crazy, right? Imagine that's getting in your way so much, right? And then he has to have everything. Everything has to go perfect for him, right? And then that way, he's never going to record anything. And it's never going to, and then that's going to be it. So, the only thing is, obviously artistic integrity, is very important. But yeah, the most important thing, because you have great songs and the fact that we can record stuff is an absolute miracle in a way. And we can scale our minds and our ideas out. Like, we can multiply ourselves across time, and the sooner we have recorded material to put out, the better. So so that's all I'll say on that. And then I just want to ask,
sorry, I was just about to say, perfectionism, it's great, but it's also, the word perfectionism is pretty synonymous with fear, because all that it is just a fear of being not perfect, So when you have to change your strings after every take, I feel like that's that's a kind of that's
like every recording
that's
session,
a fear,
you know what I mean? But
basically
still,
not doing a good job. But what I'd say to that is that you can be perfectionist, because you can also be fearless, and sometimes you have to take pretty uncomfortable steps to get there, So if that means that you one of your, I don't know, guitar solos has a little mistake in there, but what if that mistake is makes the song? You know what I mean? I always think of that Man Who Sold the World cover by Nirvana, the Unplugged sessions. There's a part where the guitar player slides up to the completely wrong note, and it's so obvious, but there's something about it that just it's still such an iconic song and such an iconic performance that doesn't make any difference, to how great it is.
It becomes the thing. It becomes like the mistake. The mistake is a judgment that is based on opinion, let's say, but it's not actually real. Like, technically there's no mistakes. It's just our judgment on whether it was a mistake or not. But sometimes the mistakes become the thing. Like, with this album I've done, there's a few little tiny bits in the vocals and some of the songs that, I'm like, that hurts because I didn't fucking, little tiny things, but I've learned now to just let go. And I'm just like, that creation now is that creation, mistakes, warts and all. And now I'm going to move on to the next one, and then I'll bring that information forward. We're losing Blazers by the second. But I just want to ask, on the recording side of things, what are the plans for recording?
Eleanor, you go for that.
I don't know who wants.
We are currently doing some work on a home demo recording ourselves that we hope to get up on SoundCloud later this summer. And we are currently saving money for a EP recording in a studio, and we hope to release songs from that through the fall.
Brilliant.
So
there's plans.
There are plans. Plans are in motion. There are plans on top of plans for recording.
There's plans for the plans.
We know that that's the biggest thing we have to do as a band right now is get some music out, because I think we've reached a point where people, when they hear that we're in a band, they always want to ask, oh, can we listen? Can we listen? And it started to come up as not a critique, but as a thing people say that, oh, they wish Blazer's music was on Spotify, or they wish there was some more record of the music that we make, because they can tell that we have a lot of fun playing together and that we're doing so much playing together, but there's no record of it.
Yes.
So
when you first went to start a band and, you know, got everything in motion, you just didn't worry about like so much. It was like you just looked ahead and what was in front of you. But then as you pursue the path, like this is what people don't realize. Like they think they have to have it all figured out when they get started, but you just have to take the first step, and then the next steps make themselves known. You don't have to look for the next steps. They come and hit you in the face. You know what I mean? You can't avoid them. You know, the next steps are just waiting after the next step, but you can only ever take the one step. But it is, because I like getting into the nitty gritty of songs with people on the podcast. You know what I mean? I like getting into that, but I didn't really have that. And obviously I have that circle sessions in my head, but that's just like a vague memory. I just know how it's made me feel more than and I have a song in my head. So I don't know if you've heard this guy. What was his name? Anyway, I'll get it over to you after. But I have a different, when I think of Oscar's song that I really resonated with, I have another song in my head that plays. You know what I mean? But it's similar. I think anyway. I'll send it on. It's probably not. It's probably way off. But so with the sound, because yes, and then sound, I love that because with SoundCloud, it's like there's no barriers to entry, and it's not as it doesn't feel as permanent or whatever. It's just like you just need to get going with something. And I'd put the audio on YouTube as well, even if it's just like with an image or an AI generated video or something. You know what I mean? Just having it out there where people can listen to it. So what's have you tried to record at all before?
We've been trying to record a demo. Yeah, but that's not exactly going well. I don't know why. We just cannot get the timing right. But, it just, I don't know. It just sounds really bad.
Method, or his the way he described of just recording it is the best way to just get it going. But to get because you're gonna get in your own, like, it's the least amount of block. You know what I mean? If we just record it, like this podcast, we're not all trying to get like the audio, our mic's perfect, or we're not all waiting till we're in the same room. We're just fucking doing it, and whatever happens. But doing this podcast is much better. Like, there's more value in this, even in its limited form, of what the ideal perfect scenario might be, which is like in a perfect studio where we're all together and everything's perfect. This is actually we get a lot of value out of doing this. So if you are just recording demos, I don't know. It's like I was saying, just don't get in your own way and just see it as the ultimate first draft. Don't even give no pressure. It's just like you want to get these songs out. But what was the process like with the stuff that you've tried to record now at the moment, or any recording sessions that you've done?
We recorded the drum kit first, mostly. That's what the problem was. We didn't have one of our microphones is an iCarly microphone, so it doesn't exactly pick up the sound well. But yeah, just drums, and then I guess Eleanor on bass, and kind of layering everything on top of that.
Yes.
Well, actually, Oscar, I thought we did record.
Black Swan.
We recorded
I remember
two
what
songs
we did is we literally set up one microphone in the room, and we positioned everyone like the ways they used to when they made mono recordings back in the 50s, where the singer would be right up front with the guitar or whatever, and then bass kind of just about second, maybe, and drums right at the back of the room, you know? And I mean, it actually worked really well, I thought. And I don't know. I think we're just sort of stubborn about
Yeah,
trying to
what happened
record
to that
through
recording? Because we were
click
all
track
happy
and
with
stuff
it.
because that's the professional thing to do. But honestly, for our purposes, I think that mono recording was
Yes.
perfect. Like, but anyway, that's a different discussion.
Oh yeah.
Well, at the beginning, and like you just need to figure out. Yeah, I like just getting like you start the band on the way you started the band is like maybe how you need to record, because it's just about the sooner you have stuff recorded. Like you have to think about it. It's like interest. If you start investing in, it'll pay off. It'll pay off over time. The longer your music exists in recorded form over years. Like I have a song that's out on Spotify, like nearly I think it's like could be at least 2 years now. But like now people that's like built up its own little stew in a way, you know what I mean? And like it wouldn't have it's earning interest now in terms of spawning my ideas out into the world, in a way like that wouldn't have been possible if I had just been sitting there and not recorded. So I think just getting to record it, but there's many ways. I mean, even if you just had a room mic and then maybe you had like you could record the piano or the bass, like you could just DI it, all the instruments, and then just have the DI'd versions and then the sort of room mic ambience, and then I don't know, you could do some simple. There's really good like mastering. Like I have these plugins for I use Logic, so it's called Isotope, but you pay like 20 quid a month, and one of them is called Ozone, right? And for all my videos now that I record, when I'm playing music, I have loads of effects that I apply, but I have this really good one. It's just like a mastering plugin. So it's just like hit the button, it analyzes the song, and it just applies like a mastering preset. It makes it all louder. It it just makes it better. And that just doing that, I just do that even on little throwaway videos now, and it just elevates it. But it's so easy. It's just like a button click. So if you just you could apply some basic mixing to your stuff to kind of to take it to like a better level than what it was, not just the recording, but yeah, no, and I look forward to whenever you get something going. And if you need, I have like I have two like SM81s there that I'm not really. I have microphones, so if you need mics, like I have a few there. And like they're sitting there at the moment, so like I'd be glad to give them a lend if you needed them to record.
Thank you. We might.
Definitely, yeah. I'll see you at the gig. I'll give you the 281s. They're like they're really good for recording. Like apparently I got them because they're good for recording acoustic guitar, and I got two of them because I want to do stereo. But they're really good. They're really good mics. And then yeah, so that'll get just get better more than the iCarly anyway. And then I might have something else. I have this like I have a Zoom recorder as well. That's pretty good. For just capturing like I'm gonna bring this to the gig. My plan with this gig, hopefully, is to just record the audio, and then my iPhone. I'll record everyone's like stuff. You know what I mean? So then because I think what I've noticed is just making sure I record all the gigs, because I have all the content in. And then it just becomes useful down the line. I put it up to Google Drive, and I forget about it. And then I'm like, oh, I need something to post. I'll just be like, oh yeah, let's snip the shit out of this. So hopefully I'll be recording that whole gig. But yes, if you need any mics for recording, that'd be good. And then I suppose just the last little bit of stuff So you alluded, Oscar, that you and Jesse are sort of the main songwriters, let's say at this point, or you were. So what is the writing process? I suppose he's only kind of. So when you came up with that one song, I think you were alluding to that you came up with. Let's say maybe it's not from scratch. What does the writing process look like for the band in its current latest form?
Well, it's always changing because
sense.
I mean, how songs are written always change. You know what I mean? There's no one method that a songwriter uses. It's anything that they can use. You know what I mean? Anything at their disposable. Disposable?
Yes.
Disposal.
Yes.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's disposable as well.
But
you know what I mean? That's a good way to look at it.
What would happen was I'd say come up with a riff or something, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," you know. And then like I'd just start playing over and over again. and I'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know. And then like I'd just start playing over and over again, and then kind of Jessie be like, wait, just keep playing, and she would just like sing over it or something like that, or riff over it with her voice, just like, you know, feel
Yeah.
it. And then maybe Aoife would come in, and then Eleanor would come in a bit, and then like we'd record it. And usually like either me or Jessie kind of basically fetches off the next day and just writes it herself, gets the lyrics down, you
Yes.
know, and then maybe comes back with it, and then that's kind of the song. That's how we've done with a few different songs now, including "Do You Feel Deprived?" I think so.
Okay.
And like we use like our own experiences as well to inform the lyrics and stuff like that, you know, from all the band members.
Yes.
Particularly for that
Yes.
song. As
Oh, that's cool.
But,
interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But yeah, just on because song for me, yeah, like the way you described theirs is a really good way. Like just coming riffing like or mumbling or just coming up with melody over instrumentation, over music, because that's where the magic lies in a way, and it's so much easier to create over. I have like a rant, like I'm not a band, so I just have like I'll just randomly generate chords with this plugin that I have, and I'll come up with stuff and like no, and then eventually like, oh, I like this one, and then what I've been doing now is I'll do all the melodies, like I'll do the verses, I'll do the chord. Most of my chord songs are just like, you know, classic pop structure, verse, pre-chorus, bridges, and then once I have all the melodies, it's like a crossword puzzle. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the mumbling informs the words. Like let's say I'm like, I don't gonna go. Like there's an O sound, and I know that the O feels good, so I'll be like, all right, I just want to know. Go and know are such easy. I don't know why. I always gravitate to like it's such an easy sound. But anyway, so the point is, I like seeing like a crossword puzzle of sound, let's say. But that's a cool way that. So then with the word, like, do you ever find what happens when there's a conflict of like, I don't like this word versus has there been much of that? Like,
kind of. Or sorry, Ella, do you want to give that a go? Sorry, Ella, do you want to?
There have been a couple times that I don't come in with songs ever, but I do edit songs when they appear.
Yes.
That's, I think, Aoife and I's role usually is that Oscar and Jess will come in with something and we'll be like, well, what about this sentence?
Yeah. But editing, sorry, just on the do not writer Stephen King, he talks about writing as like one thing, but to edit is divine. So he has edited. Everyone has editing is such a big part of it, and coming back to it, it's so much easier to edit. Like when I work for this for my manager, but we do code, so I'll write loads of code, and then he'll look at the code. But it's much easier for him to edit the code because he's like outside of it in a way. The people that like if you create the thing or if you're not editing, you're too close to it in a way. So when the editing process, Eleanor, what does that kind of look like then? You'll just come in with, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about that?
So usually Jess will come in with lyrics and she'll say, oh, I'm not sure about the bridge, or we need to write a bridge or something like that. And we'll all kind of throw words out that we think work.
Yeah.
And some might sound better than others, but there have been a couple times where I've heard something and I've suggested that we should change it or take it out in some way. And Jessie or Oscar will come back and say, no, that's actually really important because it connects to this later on, or there's a background here to this, or like they'll go into more of that process. And then once I hear that, I'm like, oh, okay, then let's keep that in. So we're very democratic in that way. I don't think we've had a...
Okay. Yeah, that's brilliant. It's just about keeping that ethos of trying to create the best thing. It's just, but yeah, I just imagine in a band, because I'm super opinionated, but I love, like, the name for this podcast was a friend who came up with the name of it. You know what I mean? The Basil Breen Boombox. He was saying it as a joke, and I was like, yes, that's fucking brilliant. That's the name. And when people come up with good ideas, I love the good ideas. But if I don't like something, like it's just obvious that I just don't like it. And but you need that with the band. I think just to tie this in a little bit would be, I suppose, the most important thing is just being honest with your feelings, because that way you know when something's good and you know when something's bad, and you're not just kind of like, because you want to know, because yeah, like even with my brother, like, well, if something's not fun, if I think something's funny, he doesn't think it's funny. I need to know that, because otherwise I'll go embarrass myself. Like, you might think you had this great song because everyone's just afraid to say it, but you're just like, it's just not a good song, and you just are suffering now because no one spoke up early enough. But yeah, look, I'm actually, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to run soon enough. But I actually think this didn't go too bad, considering there was so many people on the call, and Jesse is, you know, still alive out there somewhere. But I was just wondering if there's anything that you would like to make known to our potential audience members listening, or if there's any gigs, any spiels that you just need to sell yourselves with. Now is the time.
Fund our recording because we can't.
Yeah, someone come in and record all their shit. Yeah, we have that upcoming gig in the Bello Bar on the 29th. I'm hoping to release this podcast maybe tomorrow, just because the gig is so soon. I will try to get the audio over beforehand, so you can listen, but I'm sure it'll be grand. But where can we find Blazer Band? What do you have in store for us?
We are on Instagram at blazer.band.
Yeah.
And there are links to all of our other social media accounts through our Instagram. We're going on a bit of a hiatus in July as Aoife and Oscar and Jesse are traveling to America, which is super exciting. And we'll be coming back in August with 2 shows, the 6th and the 11th, 8th and the 11th. So keep an eye on our social media for more information about that as they come up. And we're super excited to obviously play this next show. We're really excited to play with you and perform.
Yay! No, thank you for coming. And yeah, I mean, anyone else need any closing stuff or anything we missed?
Keep an eye out for August. Lots of things coming.
August is coming.
A lot is happening in August. August is bad month, considering we've done nothing this month. Or next month, because we're all away.
Yeah. Well, yeah, look, I appreciate you making the time from all your corners of the globe. Hopefully Jesse's still with us. And then, but yeah, we have this gig. I look forward to meeting you in person properly, now that I kind of know everyone's name. Collectively, it's just been Blazer Band for so long. But now I can see the individual heads. For some reason, Eleanor looks tall right now for some reason. I don't know. No? Is Eleanor really small?
I don't think so. Wait, actually, I don't know. Wait, what?
Oh, shit! You want to go, bro?
I don't know. Like 5'8"? I am!
Come to our show! I'm fine now!
Come to our show where we're going to find out who's the tallest as well.
Yeah.
These are the band disputes we have.
Nothing gets
Not
done.
music or anything,
Fucking
just
arguing about who's taller. Oh, shit.
Stop. There's a tier list. We have a tier list.
What is going on? Get back! Start recording! It's not fucking bickering. No, messing. That's hilarious. All right, we'll find out. We'll find out next time who is the tallest member besides Oscar, and we'll catch you in the next one. Everyone just hang on there while I just hit the stop recording button.